On my first day, I spawned in a forest, so I started off by collecting wood and stone for basic tools. As I was walking around the nature, I fell into a ravine in which I mined some coal and iron. After climbing out, I went to a near mountain in search of spruce wood. As I climbed the tallest cliff, the sun started to set, so I crafted my first bed. Because I loved the original color, I went for red, and a campfire to cook the meat I got from some animals I found along the way. On the second day, I performed a dream boat fall into water, collected some kelp, and swam around the area to keep the spruce tree search going. Ultimately, I didn't find any, so I decided to head north, pretty much back to the spawn area, and I collected some dark oak so that I would have some diversity in my future builds. There were also giant mushrooms, so I grabbed those too. As I was going to sail away, my game crashed. After some time, I arrived at a forest island that was filled with both oak and birch trees. And after I circumnavigated it, as that is something I very much like doing before I settle down, I did so on the south shore. But before I could do anything, the sun has already set, and that was the end of the day. On third day, I started working on my first base. First, I flattened out the area a little, and then I placed down a rock foundation using cobblestone and polished andesite. I decided to go for a tower-like base design. After raising the foundation a couple of blocks, I ran out of resources, so I whined for a while, and once that was done, I finally added wooden floor to my house. On the fourth day, I started working on the second story, changing the circle base to square, thus expanding its space a little. After trying out different blocks, I eventually decided to go with stripped dark oak logs and planks together with some oak in between for contrast. I started working on the roof just as the sun was about to set, but I also ran out of wood. Thankfully, the trees I planted earlier have already grown, so I cut them down. On fifth day, I got back to the roof, adding an overhang using stairs while keeping it symmetrical from all four sides. To connect the stairs from under, I added slabs. As for finishing touch to the roof, I added stairs coming from the middle to each of the sides. To divide the wooden part of the base from stone foundation, I used trapdoors placed at each wall. Then I went inside and smoothed down the underside of the roof, using a combination of stairs, slabs, and trapdoors. Last thing I managed to do was to clear out the dirt scaffolding. On 6th day, I added windows to the topmost floor and I started working on the interior from sleeping quarters with chests, with carpet and wheat pods, also adding crafting / smelting area and storage floor. On 7th day, I killed 2 skeletons without a shield, cleared the trees again, sorted my items, finally made iron pickaxe and a shield and a chest plate. So hopefully mobs won't be as difficult anymore. With new gear, I went mining in search of more iron and possibly diamonds. As I dug down, I soon stumbled across a cave. It was too scary as I've heard some skeleton zombies and I saw a creeper, so I decided to head back up for the day. On 8th day, I began expanding my base, adding elevated grassland with some exits and paths that would connect them to my tower. Afterwards, I also added lampposts and created my first garden, filling it up with wheat seeds. During the night, I also started to work on the well, but I didn't like the location, so I moved it onto the next day. The only other thing I've done on the 9th day was gathering more wood and killing poor little glow squid. On 10th day, I went back into the cave I found 2 days earlier, and I jumped straight in, killing what was in there and exploring around. I found coal, iron, copper along the way. As I went further down into the cave system, I found myself fighting more mobs as well as coming across new blocks like redstone, gold, and newly added deep slate. Since I still had my iron pickaxe, I decided it would be a good idea to mine around a lava lake. No sooner had I found my first deep slate iron, have I fallen into the lava. Thankfully, with quick thinking and a water bucket and toolbar, I managed to live with 4 hearts left. Afterwards, I went back up, smelted down the ores I found, harvested wheat for the first time, tried growing mushrooms in my basement, but failed due to the size restrictions, and that was the end of the day. On 11th day, I collected the smelted ores, bringing us to 1.5 stack worth of copper, 1 stack of iron, and 4 gold ingots. Then I crafted full iron armor and started working on a little pond next to the farm. This is how it looked like once it was more or less done. On 12th day, I went on a little adventure to finally find the spruce tree. I sailed west and I soon came across the Badlands biome. Since it's the only biome containing terracotta, I mined each of the different colors, 1 stack per color. I also collected some cacti and dead bushes. After walking further west, I came across an abandoned mine shaft. I found a name tag, beetroot seeds, lots of rails, and iron in the minecart chests. With my shears, I also collected cobwebs. After leaving Badlands, I got to Taiga Hills and we finally obtained spruce wood. Then, as the night settled, a baby zombie villager with a raspy voice of an old man started chasing me, so I played a little tag with him just to fool him into my ultimate bow trap. And using clever trick with shield, we sailed happily home without any injuries inflicted upon me. Once we were back home, I dug a little hole for him so he won't burn in the sunlight. On 13th day, I started working my first custom oak tree using oak wood and spruce fences and slabs as a trunk together with leaves I collected with shears. I was almost done when a creeper snuck up on me and almost blew up everything to smithereens. After finishing the tree, I went on to decorate the rest of the space using leaves and bone meal. On 14th day, I watched the sunrise for the first time, enjoying the moment. Afterwards, I started working on expanding my base, adding another layer of grassland around the first one, starting off with making a stone outline. After that was done, I went ahead and flattened the area so that everything is on one level. It was already night, but I kept replacing sand with dirt and it ran out. So I crafted a clock just to see if it was already the next day, and I sailed to the nearby island to gather more dirt blocks. With 5 stacks in my inventory, sunrise of the 15th day has begun. On the 15th day itself, I sailed back home, finishing up the placing of the dirt to make the flat grassland. Now it was time to add more detail to the outlining walls, so I crafted actual wall blocks and added them on top of the already existing ones. Anytime I ran out of material, I went into the mine to collect some more. It was raining the whole day, so I didn't even realize when the sun set, but certain familiar sound made it clear as day to me. Meet phantoms, the most annoying creature to exist. Anyways, I slept through the night because of them. On 16th day, I needed to collect more andesite, and while mining, I found another cave system underneath my tower. There were plenty of mobs, and even zombies with full chainmail, so I didn't want to test my luck, and instead I was content with what I found, and I headed back out. Then I returned working on the outline, hoping to get it done by the end of the day. Interestingly enough, it didn't take as long as on the previous day, and with leftover time, I created pathways around the land as well as some lampposts. Last thing I started working on was a bigger farmland, as I was constantly running out of food. And just as I was about to finish, the sunrise of 17th day has begun. On 17th day, I adjusted the farmland a little, as the one block that was furthest away wasn't close enough to the water source to become hydrated. Afterwards, I made a path around it, and one of the sides I began a construction of another mine. The plan with this one is to go directly to a wild level 11, so we can get our hands on diamonds and new blocks. For the style, I followed my other builds, so stripped dark oak fences as a support, dark oak slabs and trapdoors for the roof, and finally trapdoors together with composters as outlining blocks. The tunnel to the mines itself is just 2x1 area with ladder on one side and water on the other. As I was digging deeper and deeper, I eventually stumbled across a mine shaft, but I did not explore it for now. On 18th day, I finally got to Y11 and made a little landing pad for myself. Afterwards, I worked on finishing up placing the decorations blocks, but they eventually ran out. So during the night, I went out and gathered some. Also, in the morning of the following day, as I was watching the sunrise, I also saw a bat flying around my island. With the mine done, now I focus on expanding my storage. So with the same style as the mine, I constructed storage shed on the eastern side of my base. I filled it up with a bunch of chests, some furnaces, so from now on, it will most likely be my main crafting area. In the evening, I cleared my wheat fields, and we finally have enough food to not starve to death. 7 loaves of bread. Nice. Then as the sun set, I began constructing an animal pen. I don't have any animals yet, but maybe once I get a chicken, it'll come in handy. After that was done, I added 3 more lampposts on each of the sides of the garden, so the total now is 4. I spent the rest of the night preparing for what's to come on the following day. On 20th day, I yet again cut down all the trees I planted and then went onto the mine for the first time. Before searching for anything, I worked on a design for the chambers. After an entire Minecraft day, this is how it looks. Floor is made up of cobbled deep slate with polished variant, and each fourth block is polished granite. As for the walls, I used deep slate tiles, and each fourth block is deep slate bricks with stairs to create an archway. After completing just 3 cells, the day has ended. On 21st day, I constructed a storage shelf at the entrance to the mine so I can keep all the excess stone I mine. I spent 15 minutes mining, finding every ore except for diamonds, until finally I got to my first lava lake, where on the other side of it there were some blocks. After making sure none would fall into lava, I mined them and we have 3 diamonds now. Enough for a diamond pick. Before I could go back to craft it, I found another 6 diamonds, but day has already ended. On 22nd day, I began mining obsidian with newfound diamonds that I turned into a pickaxe. Then I grabbed all the materials I considered most valuable and headed to the surface. The first thing that was waiting for us were our wheat fields, which after being cleared almost produced a stack worth of wheat. Afterwards, I also attended to my sugarcane, which I replanted on the same island where I was cutting trees. Since I was already there, I also collected the wood. Last thing I managed to do was moving all my items outside to our stockpile and sorting them. I really couldn't do anything else as phantoms were spawning that night. After sorting everything, we now have a chest dedicated to wood, to stone, the other blocks, materials, farming and food, tools, and finally a quick access chest. But since the sun is already rising, now I quickly have to go to sleep. 23rd day started with construction of bridge between main island and the one we plant trees on. I used dark oak blocks as outline together with stone bricks and polished andesite as support. To add more detail, I used stairs and slabs, and as a protective measure, I added fences with lamps on top and gates on both ends of the bridge. With the bridge done, I cleared the trees and added a strip of path that will lead to other builds, and since I ran out of cobblestone, I went into the mine to get some. On 24th day, I decided to venture out to find a friend and kidnap some animals. Soon I found some sheep and I lured them into the beach to trap them in boats for later transport. Afterwards, I also wandered into a forest and I captured 2 chicken. These are really important as we might be able to get Eversource from their eggs. With all animals captured, I slowly but surely transported them back into my base. For this day though, I only managed to get back the chicken, and by the night we already had a small chick. Once that was done, I planted spruce trees all over the island so that I could collect their leaves. Then I started working on the villager hotel plus enchanting room underneath the upper grassland area. I pretty much continued mining diagonally downwards for about 10 blocks, and here's the end result. I started decorating and adding details on the 25th day. Stone bricks for the ceiling, dark oak as floor, and composter and strip dark oaks as walls. I also made a little rooms for the villagers to sleep in, though I didn't put any beds there yet. I spent the whole day on this, and in between running to storage shack I had to replenish resources. I also sheared leaves. But with sun rising and enchanting table in place, the day was over. To get some beds into the hotel, I went to the spawn island to transport at least 2 sheep. I don't have a pen dedicated to them, so for now they'll be able to roam free. I dyed one of them red and the other one green for some variety. After harvesting what has grown, I went to the sea to look either for a ship or an ocean ruins. I managed to find my first treasure map in one of the chests and went to look for it. I arrived at the location during the night, so I had to clear the area of mobs. The ones that were most trouble to deal with were definitely the drowned that had tridents, but after killing like 5 of those, one of them dropped it, so now we have one too. From the treasure chest, we got Heart of Sea, some emeralds, gold, iron, and copper. Afterwards, I went back to my base and began creating custom trees that kinda look like cypress trees. I managed to get the first one done at the start of 27th day. For the trunk, I'm using stripped spruce wood and fences. As for the branches, just randomly add fences onto the sides, and finally add leaves around the blocks while keeping some open. Also try to go for a blocky look, that way they look more manicured. I spent the entire daylight creating more of those, and during the night phantom spawned, so I went mining after breeding my animals. This time I went to explore the mine shaft we found the last time we weren't there. I came across a couple of chests that had some name tags and also those new glow berries. On 28th day I went in further, fighting more mobs, exploding more creepers, mining more ores, and so finally, thanks to the caption option, I found a skeleton spawner. Needless to say, I didn't really have to fight any skeletons as they started shooting at each other, and once there were fewer, I swooped in for finishing blows. With areas secured with torches, I looted the chests and we got some horse armor, both iron and gold, and another name tag. Afterwards, I went to the entrance shaft, grabbed all the important stuff and went to the surface. Forgot to mention this, but while walking around the mine shaft, I kept collecting rails and got stuck in half worth of them. Once I got back to the surface, I sorted all the items, planted a glowberry in my still not renovated basement, and covered it with trapdoors, making it pretty much completely hidden. I spent the entire rest of the night trying to breed more sheep, but with phantoms roaming around, it wasn't the easiest thing. Afterwards, I crafted 4 differently colored beds and put them into the villager hotel rooms. Since the sun started to rise, I quickly hopped into the bed, and that was the end. With the start of 29th day, I began working on a path that would lead to the island west of my main one, which will hold the nether portal. After patching up the hole left by a creeper, I constructed another bridge in the same style as the last one, and during the night, just as I got to the other side, first wandering trader spawned, and this one was selling items from the end. But since my stock of emeralds is quite limited, limited, I didn't trade anything with him yet. Afterwards, I went to finish the bridge, but I didn't manage to do it before the day ended. Since I didn't finish building the bridge last day, I got to do it today. While making the island spawn proof, I also stumbled across my first spider jockey, and since Skeleton was the only hostile one, I let the spider go. With the first bridge done, it was time to work on the other one, and boy did I do this one quickly. With evening drawing near, everything was nice and tidy, and now I could focus on preparation to go to the Nether. While doing so, another wandering trader spawned, this time selling cave-focused items. I eventually bought pumpkin seeds as well as the glow lichen. One quite terrifying incident that happened during the night was with a creeper that spawned in the middle of my wheat field, and while fighting him, I accidentally shot our friend Chick the Little. After spending more time preparing, I was finally ready. It's time to go to the Nether. On 31st day, I constructed the Nether portal and jumped straight in. On the other side, there was a ghast waiting for me. Instead of wasting my arrows on him, I returned his ball straight back at him, and he got what he deserved. Then I traded with locals for gold, obtaining some regional loot and also some fire resistance potions and leather, which will definitely come in handy at some point. After that, I went to the local Crimson Forest and got myself a couple of shroom lights, glowstone and wart blocks. Since my inventory was pretty much full, I crafted a chest and I put it next to the portal, and would you look at that, I already found a use for the letter, a bundle. Now it'll be much easier to travel and loot things. After sorting everything, I head out east, and the next to no time I found a Nether fortress. It was guarded by two withered skeletons that I took care of single-handedly, and once inside I searched around to find a blaze spawner. Yet again, it took me only a couple of seconds and I already got my hands on some of their rods. With that, I explored the fortress further, finding like 6 chests next to each other containing all sorts of good stuff. Diamond and golden horse armor, some diamonds, saddles, etc. After collecting nether wart from the garden, the day ended. On 32nd day, I was quite content with the findings of the previous day, and my inventory was full, so I headed back to the portal. Before leaving the nether, I decided to create a small wooden barrier around the portal and also try to find an ancient debris, so after eventually getting to a wild level of 13 and almost destroying my diamond pickaxe, I got my hands on first 3 blocks. My goal was nevertheless to get at least 1 ingot, as I never had any netherite tools before, and I wanted to try getting one. Since the pickaxe I mentioned was almost broken, I headed back out to craft a new one, and once I went back and mined again, I had an incredibly bad lag spike, which took me by surprise, and had I not walked back, I would have maybe even died. Gotta be more careful next time. After that, I spent some time mining, and eventually got the last block needed to make the ingot. Forgot to mention this, but as I went to craft the diamond pickaxe, the wooden wall burned almost entirely. Anyways, I took the stuff I found in the nether and headed back out just in time for another day. I began the 33rd day by upgrading my diamond pickaxe with the netherite ingot we got last day. After that, I had to fix my villager hotel and put all the beds 1 level over, otherwise villagers wouldn't be able to sleep in them. Then I crafted 2 more beds, blue and light grey, filled the last 2 rooms, and with smelted glass, I crafted bottles to brew a weakness potion. Thankfully, I had 1 spider eye, so crafting it into a fermented one and combining with water bottles made the potion I needed. Last step was to add gunpowder to turn it into a splash potion. With the item, I went to a baby zombie villager and threw it at him, and after that I gave him golden apple to cure him. After watching over him almost the entire night, he became a villager, and I quickly escorted him to the hotel. By the way, his name is Keistner, and for now he's jobless. Who is Hiren? 34th day was quite dangerous one. Even though I've been cutting trees for most of it, and you might be wondering how that would be dangerous, let me tell you that if you don't pay attention to your surroundings, especially holes in the ground, things can go south really quickly. Once I was in the aforementioned hole, I decided to explore it a little and light some of it up. Needless to say, I found a chainmail zombie from before, and with no food, I swam up as fast as I could, got home, planted more trees, lit up the island, and during the night, harvested fields and created another cypress tree. With the tree done, I went to check up on Keistner, and look who's found himself a job. On 35th day, I tended to Keistner and persuaded him into become a fletcher instead of a farmer. He was able to grasp his newfound profession quite quickly, and with large supply of wooden sticks, I was able to obtain some emeralds from him. With those in my inventory, I searched around the island for the 2 wandering traders, but all that was left was 1 llama. I guess taking aggro of those zombies last night did not end up without collateral damage. Anyways, I thought you can use saddles on llamas, but you can't, so I crafted red carpet and a chest, put it on her, and named her Alpaca. Deal with it. After that, I worked on flattening part of the island for a wall I plan on building. As I wanted to go for materials, I yet again became oblivious to my surroundings and fallen into the hole. Amazing! I think I would have died had I not fallen into the ledge block midway through. Who knows though, I don't want to try my luck. After I got out, I continued mining dirt and sand until eventually everything was flat and I started working on the stone wall. Work on the wall continued on the 36th day. First, I added stairs in between the stone and andesite pillars. After finishing the front part, I worked on the back side and making the wall 5 blocks wide. On the top, I made a walkway using dark oak slabs and trapdoors. The eastern part was more or less done, but I ran out of torches and I didn't have have any coal left, so I went to the hole to find some. Not only have I found enough coal, I was also lucky enough to find a zombie villager, and I lured him into the front of the hotel using the same ultimate boat and shield strategy. I locked him up next to my enchanting table in a dirt cell. After that, I used weakness potion and a golden apple on him and left him work on the wall. Just as I finished placing wood on the western side, creeper snuck out from the hole, and with 4 shots from my bow, he was done for. Since the constant influx of the mobs from the teeny beanie me blind Folini and Holini, by the way it's a name I just came up with, was getting slightly annoying, I decided to cover it up for now. Before that, however, I added gates to the wall using spruce trapdoors placed on other side of the wall, and this is how the wall looked just during the sunrise of the next day. Until further notice, don't attempt to enter the construction site or create buildings behind the wall. Noted. 37th day was probably one of the least interesting ones, as in the morning, after spending 4 rabbit hides to craft the last remaining piece of leather necessary for me to construct a lectern, I spent almost the entire daylight swapping the villager traits. At one point, things got heated, and I accidentally punched Estefania. That's the villager name, by the way. She came to her senses afterwards and was finally willing to trade bookshelves and Silk Touch enchantment books. After that, I bought 3 of those and 33 bookshelves. Needless to say, even though she's master at her librarian craft, she's a dumb enough to try and sell Silk Touch twice and for different prices. Like, what is this? Anyways, with my new library, I constructed yet another anvil, even though I had already done so previously, but I forgot, and also a fresh set of iron armor. Before I could put the old one in the armor stand in the tower, I went downstairs to enchant the gear, starting off with an Unbreaking 3 in efficiency for netherite pickaxe, after that Fortune 3 on another pickaxe, and finishing off with random protections and unbreakings on my armor. We're all geared up. On 38th day, I became a dwarf and spent the entire day mining for coal and andesite with my new tools. Since it was purely mining, it could be pretty boring, but to sum up my field trip, I obtained the skeleton spawner. Don't do this in your world without mods or data packs, you will lose it. I also got 4 diamond ores, 2 stacks of iron, 3 stacks of copper, 5.5 stacks worth of coal, some redstone and gold. Also, a lot of andesite. Well, I mean, it should be enough to finish the next construction I have planned, which is subscribe to my channel and watch the next video once it comes out. Bye! On 39th day, I began constructing the same kind of grass platform as on my main island. As I went around the island placing the stone outline, I also marked spots where I would later build little piers, or docks, as like harbor, you know. I know I said I'll cover the whole like 3 days ago, but I only did it partially now. You happy? By the start of the night, I had 2/3 finished, but I refused to go to bed despite phantom spawning. Once the outline was in place, I could move on to placing grass with my lawnmower shovel. Great for gardening. Get yours at Villatel of Seed Zero, aka the villager hotel, or I mean prison with big yard. Anyways, before the day ended, I ran out of dirt and I went to bed. On 40th day, I finished placing down the dirt from last time, and guess what? I finally did it. I covered up the teeny beanie, me blind Folini and Holini. With that done, I grabbed what was left of my wood stock and I began constructing the dockyard and western side of the island. I stuck with the 3x3 grid system, and as for the blocks, I alternated between spruce slabs and trapdoors with campfires. It's going to be one hell of an expensive dog at this point. And as the lower parts, I used Starco trapdoors instead of campfires. For the light, I added a battery lamppost with lanterns. Underneath the farthest edges, I also added fences right down to the ocean floor as support. At times, I was close to drowning, but I'm still standing. Yeah. Just as I was about to head home for the sunrise, nomadic vendor spawned. Needless to say, he ain't got nothing useful, except maybe for the fish and TNT. Gonna blow some stuff up. 41st day was full of cutting wood, killing chicken that don't know how to stay in one place, gathering weed and planting seeds, breeding more animals that are bound to run away and get killed too, then selling sticks for emeralds and books for more books to get more books, since Stefania's math is off. And finally, with the profit, buying salmon, name tags on bargain compared to 15 emeralds if I were to trade with Stefania and some TNT. Oh, and a lot of iron shovels. And you know, since I won't be needing the villager anymore, where did he go? On 42nd day, I adopted llamas that were left by their owner, and I put some carpet on them, making them look absolutely fabulous. Then I went to find our first llama, and I finally used name tag on her, making her alpaca pacapua, and just look how cool they look together. After that, I started working on a barn building, placing wood outline and fence around that. While crafting more lantern, I was looking for Stefania because librarians cancel lanterns, but I didn't find her, and Kaisna was also doing some shenanigans. Despite that, I got back to building, now finally working on the roof. The work on the barn roof continued on the 43rd day, but before I could go back to it, I sighted Stefania somehow standing on the wall of the main island, and I just couldn't comprehend how she got there. After breaking her free, the work finally continued. I used dark oak as the outline and spruce to fill the blocks in between. By the sunset, I had it done, and now I could work on adding the walls. For now, I used stripped oak go, and this random zombie just appeared out of nowhere, but he was no match for my axe. Last thing I did was adding wood next to the path blocks so that the texture doesn't stick out, as well as adding path blocks inside the barnyard. This is how the barn looks so far. 44th day was full of detailing, starting off with walls. I mixed in spruce buttons, oak trapdoors, planks, and then I secured the island with more gates placed pretty much everywhere, like actually even to the upper region of the main island, since I actually saw some animals get hurt while jumping from the well. Then I added a small wheat garden that holds enough wheat for one hay bale each time it would be harvested, and also a decorative bush. Inside the barn I added some hay and barrels, and as for the animal pens I added a mix of coarse dirt and pot soil, as well as a water trough for animals. Now being complete, I got my llamas on leash, and one by one I got them inside their pens. Then I went to craft new tools, but worried I only have less than 20 iron, I thought I will have to go mining again. But thankfully I checked the furnaces, and turns out there is more than 2 stacks of those in there, so I crafted some iron shoes to get feather falling, but I didn't get one sadly. On 45th day I went to the nether yet again, farmed some netherite, this time for my lawnmower shovel that is getting closer to breaking. Just as I entered the nether, I made sure to have my shield ready, as I didn't want to experience the deja vu of my last creeper encounter that ended my first hardcore world. And now after 30 minutes of mining, I got 2 stacks of quartz, almost a stack of gold, and 4 ancient debris. After getting home, I crafted a diamond shovel and transferred the enchantments from my iron shovel to the netherite one. Again, this is a part of a data pack, and it's not possible in vanilla Minecraft. I spent the first 3 minutes of the 46th day just looking around the island, thinking what I could start doing next, and I decided to work on a teeny beanie me blind Fellini and Holini. The plan is to dig out circa 9x9 hole all the way to the bedrock and make yet another mine in it. Needless to say, doing this during the rain meant that all the mobs that were in the cave could come up and be annoying. After 10 minutes of digging, I finally got to the cave where I found the chainmail zombie 2 times, but he was nowhere to be seen this time. Near the end of the day, and with the help of Digger's Maximus mod, I finally reached the lava lake I was farming obsidian from, but it was time to go to bed. But I didn't make it in time, so I guess it's phantoms on the menu for tomorrow. 47th day, I continued working on the teeny beanie me blind Fellini and Holini, carving out the remaining pieces of walls, especially those at the edges. At one point I came across a mine shaft and I got a golden apple and some rails out of it. Then I also found a cave and fought 2 king zombies. At first I was hesitant to kill them, as I found it really cool that 2 spawned both wearing full golden gear. But after a while I changed my mind and I got to keep their helmet and chestplate. During the night I was finally at the lava lakes and I could start clearing out the obsidian. While doing so I came across 5 diamonds, but I did not manage to clear out everything before the end of the day. Since the last day wasn't as successful as I had hoped it would be, I had to work on a teeny beanie me blind Fellini and Holini even on the 48th day. But hey, by the end of the daylight I finally had it done. With that I could mine all the ores I found while doing so, and this is how much I got. I must admit I was quite happy with those diamonds, as that's another block to my name. During the night I harvested all the wheat and bred my animals. After crafting powered rails I began constructing a minecart rail system. 49th day I continued on the minecart rail system, figuring out things along the way, and with that came a lot of problems. After finally placing down everything, I realized that rails can both turn and go up a block, and that meant I had to rebuild everything. Even though I spent the whole day on this, I did not manage to finish it. On 50th day I finally made a breakthrough and got the rail system working just before the sunset. Since if it was somewhat working, and I hope it will, I began constructing a safety barrier around the teeny beanie blind Fellini and Holini, as to not get myself killed accidentally. After adding railing all around, I started to work on surrounding structures, but the sun has risen before I could really do anything. With safety ensured and no motivation to work on the minecart rail system, I began enhancing the surroundings of the hole on the 51st day. First I constructed some sort of a storage pile tower that holds goods extracted from the mine, and this is how it looked during the sunset. After that I worked on a crane that would extract the aforementioned goods from the mine and bring them to the surface. With my terrible crafting speed and the fact that I also bred animals again, I did not manage to finish the crane, only building it halfway through. On 52nd day I managed to finish the work on the crane, and here's the result. As for the finishing touch, I added a lift above the teeny meeny blind Fellini and Holini, but for now I don't have ore blocks to put on it. After that I began constructing the exact replica next to it, as I wanted to create an actual stockpile area, as this part of the island will have a lot of ports, meaning it will have some trade. This time with more experience, it didn't take me as long to construct the crane as last time, so I also had the time to finish the lift or the package part that would hang over the heads of the passerby. This is the crane in its final look during the following sunrise. After constructing the vital piece of the stockpile yard, I could start adding more details on the 53rd day. To do so, I had to spend almost a stack of iron for lanterns and cooked stone for more armor stands. After crafting everything, I added a log pile as well as a couple of storage packages, I guess, all around, using mostly crafting tables, chests, armor stands, barrels, and grindstones. This is how the area looks right now. Then, during the night, I took a different set of materials and I began to work on the walls of the teeny beanie me blind Fellini and Holini. The idea is to continue the style I will use here all the way down. I use stripped dark oak and spruce wood as the first layer, with shroom light in the middle covered with oak trapdoors and mix of cobblestone, andesite and tuff as the second layer. As usual, I tend to be quite slow with building, so I'm not finishing this project tonight. On the 54th day, after finishing up all the remaining segments of the first layer, this is how the whole looks like so far. I don't think I will continue working on it for some time now, as I really don't feel like it, and the height itself makes me feel really stressed out and anxious. I just don't want to experience that at all times while playing this game. So with this done, I went into the nether, cause that seems relaxing. Sure, to be fair, I knew that if I ever get back to the work on the hole, I will need more shroom light, and since I was already in the nether, I also collected some glowstone, and I will ultimately replace the shroom light as it is easier to get it. During my time in nether, I witnessed just how dangerous the hoglins are, totally catching me off guard with the damage that they deal. I don't even want to imagine what the warden will be like. After I got out, I found a zombified hoglin. I was at the impression that these don't attack you, but I guess they do. Since it didn't follow me to my base, I just left him on the island. While he received my mercy, chicken that ran away from their pens don't. I think I will create a book for this world, and then this night will come down as a chicken massacre, as I think around 95 were killed. After that, I helped with repopulation a bit again, and I went to the bend since the constant harassment of phantoms. On 55th day, I decided to add yet another building to the port outpost, and since the sheep were able to roam free on Rooster Island for a really long time, I went for an animal pen in the same style as the one with llamas. And so after working on it for the whole day and then harvesting all the wheat, I could guide all my sheep to the pen. With them inside, I double checked the Rooster Island, leaving only 2 sheep on it, as both were stuck in quite peculiar spots. One was behind the chicken pen in the water, and I'll leave the other one for another day. With the sheep pen complete and a lack of wood material, I spent the daylight of the 56th day cutting wood and replanting the trees. After that, I grabbed some iron and tried enchanting boots to get a feather falling. Sadly, even after 10 extra tries on level 30, I didn't get any. If you remember previous day, I told you about the 2 sheep that I left alive, and here's where the other one got stuck. Look, I'm not gonna question anyone's taste. In the end, the only thing I got from this day was fire protection 4 in my boots. In the morning on the 57th day, I came across a creeper behind a chicken pen. I almost had him explode in my face, but I was able to react just in time, and the explosion did not do too much damage. Now, you might remember that I have a Eversource data pack installed, and for it I need to get lucky while throwing chicken eggs, and as such I decided to finally construct a small chicken coop with hopper underneath that would collect said eggs. I have to say, the design is quite clunky, and I'm not even sure if the baby chicks that you get from breeding the adults stay in it, but it does collect some eggs, so it's alright. With the chicken coop done, I began constructing the second port right next to the cargo area, but did not finish before the day ended. Since I didn't finish the construction of the port from last day, I did so on the 58th day. Same as with the sheep pen, I followed what I had already built previously and repeated the style even on this side. After I got done, it started raining, and while I had something special planned for it after which I finished constructing the port, I decided to wait out the rain for now. Instead, I cleared out all the chicken that left the pen again and used up about 4 sacks of chicken eggs, not getting any Eversource. After that, I go back to enchanting books, not getting any feather falling, instead only protection and blast protection boots on level 4. With my new anti-explosion boots and beautiful sunrise, I took 2 saddles, leash, and a horse armor, and I sailed to the plains where this journey began. There I quickly came across a pack of horses and started to tame them one by one, trying to find the fastest one. After airs or horses, I was happy with what I got, and I decided to bring home one brown one and a black one too with me. To transport them, I put both of them on a lead and I sailed on a boat, dragging them with me. I did think I could just put them in a boat, but it wasn't working, so I gave up on that idea. Once they were in the barn, I crafted 2 golden apples and bred them. Before the sunrise, I also managed to breed more chicken, and after it, the day ended. After a few week break from Minecraft, mostly due to playing RimWorld, I got back, and on the 60th day, I was quite unsure about what to do. And as such, I made a lot of random decisions, like crafting 20 stone axes, or grabbing most of my stone shovels I crafted at some point in time, and then cut all the trees on the thin island connecting my nether portal to the port. With them gone, I decided to flatten the entirety of it without even knowing what I would use it for, really. And as for some of the parts, I had to place dirt into water, pretty much the same way I worked on the previous islands. The goal for now was to create a completely flat, utterly unnatural looking piece of grassland that could be divided into 3x3 cells with one block outline. Anyways, I worked on it the entire night, but there was still more work to do. Having placed more dirt on the Crossroads Island, my stock ran out. Remember, the iron shovels from last day, well, with them still in my inventory, I sailed west back to the hole I once dug dirt out of and got back to digging. Thanks to Diggers Maximus, I managed to accidentally leave a couple of holes in the ground, since by digging from underneath, you don't see whether you're mining grass or dirt. Anyways, a couple of minutes later, my inventory was now full and I could go back home. I didn't, however, get straight back to the work. Instead, I bred some chicken, thrown a couple of eggs without any luck, got more meat, and after a long time visited the starter tower and I slept through the night. On the following day, I got back to the Crossroads Island and I just kept placing dirt after dirt block. All of this was pretty mundane
in, and until finally during the night, Drowned with a Trident began attacking me. Since I wanted somewhat of a challenge, let's say, I didn't use a shield, and I fought him all with a bow. Well, he was underwater, so the only way I could know his location was by him throwing the Trident. Keep in mind, my bow only has Unbreakable enchant on it, and even with protection 4 on some of the parts of my armor, he still managed to get me down to full hearts. In the end, he did not drop the Trident though, sadly. On 63rd day, the strangest lag happened to me. After clearing out the sand with a shovel, I went to clear my inventory when the whole world lagged, and even after 4 minutes, nothing updated. Then I tried saving it, but now I was stuck on a saving screen. At that point, I alt F4'd out of the game, and I was worried that I lost all my saves, well, pretty much this one, and I launched the game again. Thankfully, everything was still there, only with like 2-minute difference, let's say. That wasn't much of a deal for me, and by noon I had already placed all that is necessary, and I could now work on the stone outline, much like with the previous islands. First, I started with the stone bricks and walls, and then during the night I added cobblestone and andesite. Last thing were the walls and some lights, of course. While going for my supplies, I sighted a villager in the water, and I was confused since it wasn't any of the 2 villagers I had. Then I checked the villa hotel, and I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw 5 out of the 6 rooms filled. After that, I crafted a boat, and I saved Willard the fisherman. Last thing to finish on the flat grassland was adding walls, and I did just that. Then I cleared out the rooster island a little and upgraded the chicken coop by replacing the trapdoors for stairs so that I wouldn't accidentally click on them while breeding the chicken. After that, I let them all escape because I had to replace the trapdoors. And since I did that, I had to lure them back in, and then I could finally rest. In the morning of the 65th day, I took Horsey for a ride around the forest, and after that I cut all of it down. Of course, I did replant it afterwards. I need wood, maybe, no, not as much since I have a lot of it in stock, but maybe I'll need more, who knows. The thing I definitely need are leaf blocks, but it did not occur to me during the time I was cutting the trees, so I won't be getting any now. I managed to finish replanting well into the night, shearing sheep afterwards, and moving Octavian so that I could change his profession into librarian. After minutes of trial and error, I finally got myself mending trade for Octavian, and with some emeralds left over, I bought enough books to enchant my netherite and diamond tools. Then I bought more books from the emeralds I got for selling most of my spruce with the Kaisna. With the tools enchanted, I sold rest of the sticks, earned enough XP to repair them completely, and with the leftover emeralds, I managed to get Octavian to master level librarian, buying about 100 lanterns. I used those to light up the Crossroads Island walls. Then, since the sheep have regrown their wool, I got to my storage shack and searched around for some dyes. With those, I changed some of the sheep with the gold to get every color, but I'm still missing the yellow tones and neutral colors for now. With thirst for adventure, I decided to venture out into the nether to get some skulls. To increase my chances, I also enchanted 2 iron swords and finally got myself a new pair of shoes that will break my fall if needed. Now I'll just combine the swords to get this beast. The only way to make it better would be to get 1 level higher sharpness on it. Anyways, I grabbed my emergency lava potion and got into nether. I went straight into the nether fortress, and as I said, my goal was to obtain withered skeleton skulls. 2 days and a couple of close calls later, I killed about 30 skeletons, and from all of those, I managed to get just 1 skull. Instead of staying there for longer, I headed straight for the portal, but as it is usual when I go into nether in this world, before going back home, I went mining for some netherite. 1 entire netherite pickaxe with unbreaking 3 and another 1 hard close call with hoglins, and now I got 2 more ingots. Yay! But I lost my iron fire protection helmet sadly. While my gold was smelting, I went to kidnap a zombie for my experiment. Surprisingly, I didn't even have to try, as this one decided to follow me to my shack. For now, I decided to give him a bed in my tower, and once we got there, he happily climbed up the ladder and went to the bed. After trading with Estefania to get some EXP, I could finally enchant another sword, gaining it another sharpness 4, which I combined with the other one I had using the amazing data pack, and I transferred the enchantments over to my brand new netherite sword. Now it was time for me to focus on the experiment. I went to Villa Hotel and began digging out new rooms, in air quotes, for my villager friends. After almost 2 days of work, the cells were more or less finished. I couldn't work on them more, cause, you know, someone was in the way. Okay, now I'm just gonna get a quick trip on my minecart, gonna get some lava. Okay, now let's go back to my place. Oopsie, my finger slipped, what a bummer. Before I could conduct the experiment, I needed to transport my zombie partner, but he will burn in the sunlight. If only there was a way I could do it now. It started to rain, I guess today's my lucky day, but I still can't transport it, cause now an iron golem has spawned. Anyways, I collected all the eggs from my chicken coop, and guess what? We got it. And not just one, but 6 ever sources. Okay, now I'm just gonna clear out some space. Don't mind me. Oopsie daisy. There we go. We got chicken into place. Now we gotta wait. But before that, oops, my finger slipped again. I'm truly sorry, Mr. Golem. Anyways, come my partner down these stairs, now to the secret tunnel underneath the Villa Hotel, and we arrived. Now, you sit right here, and I'll come back for you in just a second. Now I just gotta persuade, in air quotes, Estefania to follow me. And off you go in minecart. Estefania made your new friend, Mr. Zombie. Wow, that was really close. Not much I can do but watch though. Well, goodbye, Mr. Iron Golem. Okay, time to get the second guy. Be right back. Okay, since the Octavian is here with us too, let the experiment commence. How shall I go about this? I don't know. I'll check Eversource and figure something out. Oh look, we got 4 eggs already. Nothing useful though. So after pondering this over and trying out some weird tactics, I managed to turn the villagers into zombies and separate Mr. Zombie from them, simply by locking each of them in separate boats and then destroying the boat one by one while moving to independent cells. With villagers in the same one, I threw Potion of Weakness at them and used golden apples on them. Now I'll just wait and it's done. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow since Estefania has effectively become infinite emerald generator, well, with a bit of work attached, but that's no biggie. Time to sleep now to end the Phantom Menace. With my experiment being a success, I could now work on obtaining a lot of wealth in form of emeralds. To do so, I had to constantly buy bookshelves and destroy them for books and sell those for emeralds. At one point, I was building a large block of bookshelves only to tear it all down and sell all the books. To understand how profitable this is, I buy one bookshelf, which is 3 books for 1 emerald, and I sell those books for 3 emeralds. This means that after 3 iterations, I went from 64 emeralds to 3 stacks of emerald blocks. In other words, 1,728 emeralds, 27 times more than 64. After earning all that money from trading, I then worked on Eversource Coop. Since it didn't work when the chicken were standing on the hopper, my plan was to use the water to let them float, and I would also collect the eggs and move them to the hoppers. So here I am on the next day looking at this monstrosity of a chicken coop with some weird water bang at the top and a lot of noise. I couldn't get all the chicken to float, but look, they're producing, which is nice. Now let's make some wandering traders. Okay, so to make one, you combine some emeralds and gold with the villager spawn egg, and I get wandering trader, and this one is another one. Cool. Oh, he sells gold for emeralds. Nice, I'll buy that. Oh, and a golden carrots too. Okay, let's make another one. Cave wanderer. Okay, gonna buy some eyes of the ender and a couple of diamonds, and I should be good. Well, I could continue talking like this about 9 more times. Point is, I spawned a lot of traders, got some good ones with wither skulls and other good stuff, but the said good stuff meaning in the end I was left with like 24 blocks from my original 192, but it was definitely worth it. With my new diamonds, I crafted full diamond gear and then enchanted it, gaining protection 4 in all pieces. Now I wanted to upgrade it to netherite. Off to the nether. So after mining for a long time and not realizing the durability of my netherite pickaxe is depleting, I destroyed it. Oh my. Well, nothing I can do about that. If you're asking how I have a shulker boxes, one of the traders sold the shells for 50 emeralds, so I bought some. I know pretty overpowered, but hey, it's a data pack. Anyways, I spent the rest of the day mining when at the end, while gathering the final 3 ancient debris, I had 300 millisecond lag on a single player world. And I have to say, it was quite literally unplayable. To the point where I had to restart the game if I wanted to get out of the nether. Once I got back to my base, I upgraded all my diamond armor into netherite, made a shield with chicken face on it, but I guess due to the problem with Optifine's rendering, the shield is almost completely white in third person. Then I crafted 2 bows, I enchanted them and I combined them, and I gained a good bow, I have to say. Power 5 would be better, but it would also be a total overkill, I think. After that, I crafted a bed, gathered all the items I considered useful or good for my next trip, put them in a shulker box, and went to bed to my tower. Good old times, I have to say. On the 79th day, I threw the Eye of Ender. Time to end this. I traveled north. At first, I sailed through the sea, then I teleported around Badlands, going from hills to the lakes. From tree tops all the way to the mine shafts, until finally I reached the place where the eye went into the ground. I dug deep into the ground until I stumbled across an ancient stronghold. There I spent minutes navigating dark corridors, opening iron doors, fighting zombie after zombie and exploding creeper after creeper. I also came across an amethyst geode at one point. Needless to say, I reached the portal in the middle of the night. I prepared my gear and I jumped in. Once I was in the end, my first job was to summon 3 wither bosses. I wanted to make the dragon fight harder for myself, but turns out having an aggressive tank that can attack everything it sees is actually quite amazing in the end, as it means no enderman will attack you. After I summoned the last wither, I started destroying the end crystals on obsidian towers. They exploded one by one until there was just withers and the dragon in my way. I drank my strength potion and took down the first wither. Next up was the second one, drank another potion, and this one was downzo too. As for the last one, I took his health down and then I waited for dragon to purge. Once he did, I wanted them to finish each other, but the dragon prevailed and sent me flying up into the air. With my 2 last ender pearls, I teleported back to the ground. I charged at him for the final time. Then I used the last pearl and finished him from the back. It was over. I took the egg and I jumped in. This, however, is the end of my hardcore playthrough on this world. I could try and reach 400 days or more, but honestly, I started losing interest in this one. It might have been due to the data packs making the game too simple, almost creative-like, with extra steps. I mean, if I want to truly play hardcore, things should be hard, right? Well, I don't know really. But I have to say I enjoyed playing it for the most part, and the comments on the videos made it way more enjoyable for me. I might return at some point, maybe again to the Seed 0, maybe not. Hopefully, however, you can expect one more 100 Days Hardcore Survival, which I recorded before this one. But I never got around to editing the footage. But I will have some time now, I guess. Anyways, that's enough talking from me about the other stuff. If you're still watching even at this point, I just want to thank you all for the support. And if you could like the video and subscribe to the channel, I'd be glad. But that's everything from me, so have a nice day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.